you want me to. There's something deep inside that you hide that you can't suppress. Just confess. Please confess.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha Daniels. Welcome to Love Samantha Daniels Style. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to be talking about love, romance, sex, and relationships. So if you have any questions that fall under any of those topics, please answer them for me. Please ask them and I'll be happy to answer them. I recognize a bunch of you, but for those of you who don't know me, as I said, I'm Samantha Daniels and I am a professional matchmaker, which means that each and every day I help people get into relationships and find love. I've had my business, which is called Samantha's Table, for close to 10 years, and I've helped close to 100 couples get married. So I really know what goes on between men and women and what works and what doesn't work. So if you have any kind of question that you want to ask, something about the relationship that you're in, something about the relationship that you want to get into, something that makes you unhappy, makes you confused, if you're not sure what's going on with somebody who you're in a relationship with, whether it's a relative or a friend or a lover, anybody, those are the questions, those are the things that we talk about. So if you want to ask me a question, you just push the little raise hand button and I'll call on you. Everybody's red dotted until I call on them. That's why you're red dotted. So I'm going to start off by reading a question that got emailed into me and talking about that. And then from there, we'll move on, hopefully, to some questions in the room. So a woman emailed me in this week and she said, "Hi, Samantha. To make a long story short, I met a guy online. He is in Australia and I am in the UK. We fell in love. He came to the UK to meet me after we had been talking for about 12 months. We are both married but in similar situations. He wants me to go live with him in Australia. I have a daughter who is 17 who won't go. So now I'm torn and not knowing what to do. I do love him so much. Can you give me some advice?" So basically, here we have two people who met online. So just like they met on Paltalk, they met online. And one of them is from Australia and the other one's from the UK. And as we all know, Australia and the UK are not all that close to each other. So kind of complicated to have a long distance relationship between two people who live so far away, but for whatever reason these people were able to do that, and they were going back and forth over the internet, and it sounds like finally they met in person and they're still into each other. So now the guy is saying to the girl, "I want you to move to Australia," and she's saying she's not sure what to do because she's in love with him, supposedly, but she has a daughter who's 17, formative years, and the daughter doesn't want to move, and she's asking for some advice. So, you know, the situation is that all I can say is that this woman, she needs to get to know the guy who she's into a little bit better, because they've been emailing back and forth, and now they've met in person and they had a great time. But for her to pick herself up and move from one country to another country for this guy maybe doesn't make so much sense right now. You know, she's got a daughter who lives where she lives, and her daughter is the real deal. That's her relative, that's her daughter. This might be a passing fancy relationship. So what I would advise is that maybe she books a concentrated time period in Australia, and sees what happens. Spends time with him, so maybe she books to be in Australia for 3 weeks, and they spend 3 weeks together seeing how it goes, because after 3 weeks' time, she might realize that the relationship's not really there. So to pick herself up and turn her life upside down, I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. So I think that you need to take things slowly in that circumstance and see what happens. So keep us posted, but go book a trip to Australia, spend some quality time with him, and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to take a question from Gabe VH3. Would you like to ask me a question?
I think Gabe does not have a microphone is what I'm seeing in text here. Maybe, Gabe, if you type it out, I can read it, or Samantha can read it.
All right, so while Gabe is typing, what's been going on in your life, Gary? Anything interesting in the relationship arena?
I was actually going to ask you for help along those lines, Samantha. Maybe we could get together for coffee and talk about it. I mean, my problem is gals like Soda Pop Girl here in our virtual auditorium here on Paltalk, who just types in, Samantha, have you found a sugar daddy for me yet? And it seems that a lot of the women, even in this day and age of equal rights, only want a guy who's going to be able to help them financially.
Well, Gary, if those are the women that you're interacting with, then I think that maybe looking elsewhere, because there's plenty of women out there who are not just looking for sugar daddies, who are actually looking for somebody to have a good relationship. Where have you been finding these women, Gary? Have you been hanging around in really expensive places, so that's what they need, or are you meeting them in normal places as well?
Well, you would think that if you meet women in expensive places, they can afford it, wouldn't you think?
No, I think that if they have money, they want money. I mean, there are two different kinds of women. There are women who have money and who want to be with someone with money, and there are women who are gold diggers who just want money. So you need to find somebody in between. The girl who's not a gold digger and just looking for money, and the girl who's not just looking for lots of money. You need to find a woman who understands the bigger picture and who wants to be with somebody who has good values and who's funny and who's nice looking. And then you got to see if you can live up to those requirements over there, Gary. But assuming that you can, then that would be the right kind of woman.
Well, it seems that some of the people want women who emulate you, Samantha. Main musician is writing in text that he's looking for a woman like you. So, maybe the problem is for those of us who come to your show that we can't find women that live up to that expectation.
Well, I'm very flattered to hear that, but there are lots of different women out there who embody all different kinds of things, and I think that the key thing is to live in reality as opposed to fantasy, and I just got back from McDonald's, actually, so a Starbucks person who offered the invitation. I've already been there once today, so no, you can't take me there, maybe some other time, but just to digress for a second, so I actually love McDonald's. The reason why